If you thought the Apple tax couldn't get any higher, wait until you see the staggering $2,500 price tag on what Cupertino is secretly calling the iPhone Ultra. Yes, the invites are officially out for September 9th at the Steve Jobs Theater, but before you get your wallet ready, you need to know that Apple is actually splitting up the entire iPhone 18 lineup. If you want the standard iPhone 18 or that rumored ultra-thin iPhone Air, you'll be waiting until spring of 2027. This fall is exclusively about the insanely expensive iPhone 18 Pro, the Pro Max, and a folding device that might completely ruin the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8. Honestly, I'll believe the hype when I see it, but early supply chain leaks are painting a wild picture of what to expect as a daily driver. Let's break down exactly what is happening, starting with the Pro models, because we've got some very interesting drama around the A20 chip and a dramatic redesign of the internal hardware. Mark Gurman has been fairly vocal about the Pro models looking almost identical to the 17 Pro, retaining those familiar 6.3 and 6.9-inch display sizes. But DG Times just dropped a report indicating the physical footprint is getting noticeably thicker and definitely heavier. The camera plateau on the back is expanding to house a brand new sensor package, and Shrimp Apple Pro claims Apple reworked the rear glass to seamlessly blend with the aluminum frame for a much tighter, unified aesthetic. As for colors, the big rumor is a dark cherry deep red with a heavy purple hue, sitting alongside light blue, dark gray, and silver. Ross Young also chimed in recently on the display side, pointing out that Apple is aggressively trying to shrink the dynamic island by about 35%. Now, Mako Takara thinks this smaller island might actually get pushed to a future model due to manufacturing bottlenecks. So take that with a massive grain of salt. Are you guys actually tired of the dynamic island yet? Or do you think it still adds real value to the user interface? Let me know down in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious if anyone still cares about it. Under the hood, things get a bit crazy. We're looking at Apple's very first chip built on a 2nm process, the A20. The LEC recently reported on the TSMC 3nm yields transitioning to this bleeding-edge node, and if their data holds up, we could see an 18% speed bump and a massive 30% jump in efficiency over the A19. But it's not just about raw benchmark scores. Apple is shifting to a new packaging technology that bakes the RAM right onto the processor wafer itself. That means significantly less thermal throttling, much better battery life, and enough overhead to properly run whatever massive Apple Intelligence features they announce next. When you eliminate the physical distance data has to travel between the memory and the CPU, latency drops off a cliff. This could fundamentally change how we use the phone as a true mobile editing bay or a high-end gaming device. Plus, the Pro Max is supposed to get an even larger battery cell, easily cementing its status as the king of battery endurance. Moving to the cameras, Ming-Chi Kuo has been dropping hints about a variable aperture system making its debut on the main lens. This would finally give us real hardware control over depth of field and exposure, letting you manually adjust exactly how much light hits the sensor. But here is the kicker. Some leaks suggest this variable aperture might be strictly locked to the iPhone 18 Pro Max, which would definitely annoy anyone who prefers the smaller 6.3-inch form factor. We are also expecting an upgraded stacked image sensor for better dynamic range, plus a wider aperture on the telephoto lens, giving us much cleaner low-light performance across the board. Then there is the connectivity situation. Apple's custom C2 modem is apparently ready for prime time, packed with heavy satellite improvements. It feels like Cupertino has been trying to escape Qualcomm's grip for half a decade now. The rumors point to this custom silicon not just matching current 5G speeds, but heavily expanding low Earth orbit satellite features. But wait, depending on where you live, you might still end up with a Qualcomm modem inside your phone. It seems like the US market might stick with Qualcomm for now, while international markets get the C2. The seamless integration of their own silicon is clearly the ultimate endgame. But it is taking them absolutely forever to pull off. And speaking of things that are hard to swallow, let's talk about the price. Analysts are bracing us for a $200 to $300 price hike across the entire Pro lineup. driven heavily by rising memory costs and that ultra-expensive 2 nanometer silicon. But completely forget the Pro for a second, because the absolute star of the September 9th event is going to be Apple's first foldable. Internally dubbed the iPhone Ultra, this book-style folding device looks totally geared to take on the Z Fold 8 directly. You get a 5.5-inch outer display for quick tasks, and a massive 7.8-inch inner screen with a 4:3 aspect ratio. It is basically a mini iPad that fits straight into your pocket. The holy grail for foldables is obviously the display crease, and Apple's supposedly obsessed over this. They're using a completely custom liquid metal hinge, and early testers claim the crease is virtually invisible. When you talk about a liquid metal hinge, the engineering tolerances have to be perfectly flawless. Any tiny debris gets in there, and the entire OLED screen is ruined. Supply chain sources noted that the materials science department practically threw a blank check at this problem, entirely ignoring standard manufacturing costs to beat the competition. However, this foldable is definitely not perfect. Due to how insanely thin it is, measuring around 4.5 millimeters when open, there is absolutely zero room for the Face ID True Depth Camera Array. Yes, you heard that correctly. Apple is bringing back Touch ID, integrating it directly into the power button, just like the iPad Air. The camera system is also taking a massive hit. You only get a dual lens setup with a 48-megapixel main and an ultra-wide, meaning no telephoto lens at all. For a device that could easily run you $2,500, missing a dedicated zoom lens is really going to sting. Would you trade your current Pro model for a foldable if it meant entirely losing the telephoto lens and Face ID? Because honestly, I am super torn on that expensive compromise. On the software side, early testers are completely obsessed with the new iPad-like app layouts. For the first time on iPhone, you'll actually be able to run 2 full apps side by side with dedicated sidebars. Imagine dragging and dropping files between apps just like you do on a Mac, but on a 7.8-inch display. The multitasking setup heavily borrows from iPad OS, officially blurring the line between a phone and a tablet. The iPhone Ultra will run the exact same A20 chip and pack a whopping 12 gigabytes of RAM. But getting your hands on one will be a complete nightmare. Whispers point to incredibly tight stock at launch, with a US first rollout before trickling out globally. If you want this on day one, you better be ready to refresh your browser constantly. Rounding out the event, do not expect any earth-shattering changes to the wearables. The Apple Watch Series 12 and Ultra 4 are slated for minor internal spec bumps, essentially just a minor processor refresh with zero major design overhaul. And if you're holding out for that heavily rumored home hub with a robotic display, you will probably be waiting until October or even early next year. We might get a refreshed Apple TV 4K and a new HomePod Mini in deep red to match the new iPhone colors. But the heavy hitters are definitely the phones.